Dr. Amanda Wells stared at her monitor screen in the dim light of Orbital Defense Station Beta. The strange readings had appeared again, stronger this time. She rubbed her tired eyes and reached for her coffee, only to find the cup empty. This was her fourth night shift in a row, but she couldn't ignore these unusual energy patterns appearing at the edge of their solar system. She pressed a button on her console to call her supervisor. "Dr. Carter, I need you to see something." The older scientist walked over from his desk, his face showing mild annoyance at being interrupted. But his expression changed when he saw the readings on her screen. The energy signature pulsed with an unnatural rhythm, unlike anything their instruments had recorded before. "How long has this been active?" he asked, leaning closer to the screen. "First appeared 3 days ago, sir, but now it's 10 times stronger." Amanda pulled up a comparison chart. "And it's moving closer to our position." Before Dr. Carter could respond, every alarm in the station began to scream. Red warning lights flashed across the walls as new signals appeared on their radar. Dozens of objects had just materialized at the edge of their scanning range, moving fast toward Earth. "Get me Earth Command now," Dr. Carter shouted, but Amanda was already making the call. The main screen lit up with the face of General Richards. "This better be important. Station Beta." "Sir, we have multiple unknown objects approaching Earth. They just appeared out of nowhere, and there." Amanda's voice cut off as the first images from their long-range cameras appeared on her screen. The ships were unlike anything humans had built. They gleamed with a metallic purple sheen, their shapes smooth and circular, without any visible engines or windows. Energy rippled across their surfaces like water. "We're receiving a transmission," Amanda announced, her fingers flying over the controls. A voice filled the station, speaking perfect English, but with an odd echo that made Amanda's skin crawl. "People of Earth, we are the Krivaks. Your world now belongs to us. Surrender or face extinction." General Richards's face hardened on the screen. "This is General Richards of Earth Defense Command. We do not respond to threats. State your peaceful intentions or—" The transmission cut off abruptly. Amanda watched in horror as one of the alien ships fired a beam of pure energy at their nearest colony ship, the Stellar Dawn. The beam struck the human vessel, and for a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then the ship's hull began to glow from the inside out. "Energy readings are off the charts," Amanda reported, her voice shaking. "It's like their weapons are disrupting the molecular structure of—" The Stellar Dawn exploded in a burst of light that temporarily blinded their sensors. When the image cleared, only floating debris remained. More energy beams lanced out from the alien ships, targeting Earth's defensive satellites. Amanda watched as Station Charlie went dark, then Station Delta. But something strange caught her attention in the readings from Station Charlie. "Dr. Carter, look at this." She pulled up the final data transmission from the destroyed station. The crew, their bodies didn't disintegrate immediately like the ship's hull. They survived the first blast for almost 30 seconds. "How is that possible?" Dr. Carter leaned in closer. "That energy beam should have torn apart any organic matter instantly." Before they could analyze the data further, a bright purple light filled their window. Amanda turned to see one of the Krivak ships hovering directly outside Station Beta, its weapon ports glowing with the same deadly energy. "All stations, this is what we've trained for." General Richards's voice came through their emergency channel. "Engage defense protocols and—" The blast hit Station Beta with devastating force. Amanda felt intense heat wash over her body, expecting it to be the last sensation she would ever feel. But something unexpected happened. While the station's structure began to break apart around them, her body tingled with strange energy instead of dissolving. She managed to type one final message before the station's systems failed completely. "Human bodies resistant to energy weapons. We adapt. Send data to Earth." The message transmitted just as Station Beta broke apart, sending Amanda and the surviving crew tumbling into space. Their emergency suits activated automatically, but Amanda's mind was racing with the implications of what she had discovered. Even as rescue ships rushed to their position, she knew this was just the beginning. Humanity had revealed an unexpected defense against the alien threat, one that would change the course of the coming war. Kevin Pierce stood in the brightly lit laboratory, staring at the tissue samples through his microscope. His hands trembled slightly as he adjusted the focus. After 3 days without sleep, he could barely keep his eyes open, but he couldn't stop now. Not when they were so close to understanding what had happened. "You need to see this," he called out to Dr. Lisa Martinez, who was examining data on her tablet across the room. "These cells, they're unlike anything we've ever seen before." Lisa walked over, her lab coat rustling as she moved. She looked through the microscope and gasped. The cellular structure of the survivors from Station Beta had changed in ways that defied everything they knew about human biology. The energy weapon should have torn them apart at a molecular level, Lisa said, straightening up and running a hand through her short brown hair. Instead, their cells are becoming denser, more resilient. Kevin pulled up more images on the main screen. "Look at the comparison. Normal human cells on the left, survivors' cells on the right. Their cellular walls have developed some kind of energy-absorbing layer." The door to the lab slid open with a soft hiss. General Richards walked in, followed by 2 military officers. His face looked older than it had just a week ago, when the Kryvax first appeared. "Please tell me you have something," the general said, his voice rough from too many emergency meetings. Lisa nodded and pointed to the screen. "The survivors aren't just lucky, sir. Their bodies adapted to the alien weapons. We've confirmed it in all 28 survivors from Station Beta." "Adapted how?" one of the officers asked. Kevin typed commands into his computer, bringing up new diagrams. The first blast of energy triggered something in their cells. Instead of breaking down, the cells began to change their structure. "It's like..." He paused, searching for simple words. "It's like their bodies learned from the attack and found a way to resist it." "Is it permanent?" General Richards asked. "Yes," Lisa answered. "And that's not all. We found traces of these changes in people who weren't even directly hit by the weapons. Family members of the survivors are showing early stages of the same adaptations." The room fell silent as everyone processed this information. The silence was broken by an alert from the emergency broadcast system. The Kryvax had begun their assault on Earth's colonies. Kevin quickly pulled up the incoming data from the Mars colony. The aliens had attacked with the same energy weapons, but the casualty reports showed something extraordinary. "Sir," he said, his voice rising with excitement, "the colonists are surviving longer against the weapons. The first victims at Station Beta lasted 30 seconds. These colonists are lasting 2 minutes or more." Lisa grabbed his arm. "Kevin, look at their DNA patterns." She pointed to new data streaming in. "The adaptation is happening faster in them. It's like our bodies are learning from each attack and passing that knowledge on somehow." General Richards straightened his uniform. "How long until we develop full immunity?" "We can't be certain," Kevin replied honestly. "But at this rate of adaptation, maybe a few weeks. The process seems to speed up with each exposure." The general nodded grimly. "That's not fast enough. The Kryvax are planning something big. Our spies report they're gathering their fleet for a major assault. We might have a way to speed up the process," Lisa said quietly. Everyone turned to look at her. "We've isolated the cellular changes in the survivors. If we can find a way to trigger these changes artificially." "You want to expose people to the weapons deliberately?" the second officer asked, looking horrified. "Not exactly," Kevin jumped in, understanding Lisa's idea. "We could create a safe environment, controlled doses of similar energy. Help the adaptation along." "Do it," General Richards ordered without hesitation. "But keep it quiet. If the Kryvax find out humans can adapt to their weapons, they might try something worse." Lisa finished his thought. As the general and his officers left the lab, Kevin turned back to his microscope. Under the lens, he watched as the cells continued to change, becoming stronger with each passing hour. Humanity's greatest threat had unknowingly given them their greatest gift, the power to evolve in ways they never thought possible. Mary Collins sat in the observation room of the military research facility, watching as doctors studied the readings from the sensors attached to her body. She had survived 3 direct hits from Kryvak's weapons, more than anyone else on Earth. The doctors called her special. She called herself lucky. Dr. Peter Grant walked into the room, holding his tablet. His eyes were bright with excitement as he looked at the latest test results. "Your body is doing something amazing, Mary. The changes are happening faster than we ever expected." Mary nodded, rubbing her arm where the last Kryvak's blast had hit her during the attack on the lunar base. Instead of burning her like it should have, the energy had felt warm, almost pleasant. "Will you tell me what's happening to me now?" Peter pulled up a chair and sat down. He had promised to explain everything in simple terms, no complex scientific language. "Your DNA is changing itself. Every time you get hit by their weapons, your body learns from it. It's like your cells are building armor, but it's armor made of energy." Outside the observation room window, more survivors were arriving. The Kryvak's attacks had increased over the past week, but so had the number of people surviving them. Each survivor showed the same changes Mary had, though none as advanced as hers. "We're all changing, aren't we?" she asked, watching as medical teams helped the new arrivals. Peter nodded. "And not just the people who get hit. We're seeing the changes spread through families, through communities. It's like our bodies are sharing what they learn." A loud alarm suddenly rang through the facility. Red lights flashed in the corridors. Peter rushed to check the emergency console on the wall. His face went pale. "The Kryvaks are attacking the facility," he said, his voice steady despite his fear. "They must have figured out what we're doing here." Mary stood up, pulling off the sensor patches. "Then let's show them what we can do." The building shook as energy blasts hit it from above. Peter tried to stop her, but Mary was already running toward the exit. She had been a security guard before all this started. She knew how to fight. Outside, 3 Kryvak ships hung in the air, their weapons glowing with deadly purple energy. Soldiers fired back with conventional weapons, but their bullets couldn't penetrate the alien shields. Mary walked out into the open, ignoring the shouts telling her to take cover. She felt different now, stronger. The first energy blast hit her directly in the chest. Instead of pain, she felt a surge of power flow through her body. The Kryvak ships fired again and again. Each blast made Mary feel stronger. She noticed other survivors joining her, stepping out from behind cover. None of them fell. None of them burned. Peter watched from the doorway, recording everything on his tablet. "This is incredible," he muttered. "Their bodies aren't just resisting the energy anymore. They're absorbing it." The aliens must have noticed something was wrong. Their ships backed away, weapons still firing, but having no effect. Mary felt the energy building inside her, making her skin tingle. "What's happening to me?" she called out to Peter. He checked his readings, his eyes growing wide. "The energy has to go somewhere, Mary. Your body is storing it, but it can't hold it forever." As if triggered by his words, Mary felt the power surge through her. Energy burst from her hands in a bright purple beam, just like the Kryvak's weapons. The blast hit one of the alien ships, cutting through its shields like they weren't there. The other survivors were experiencing the same thing. Beams of energy shot from their bodies, forcing the Kryvak ships to retreat. Peter rushed to Mary's side as she fell to her knees, exhausted but unhurt. "This changes everything," he said, helping her up. "We're not just adapting to survive their weapons. We're learning to use them." Mary looked at her hands, still tingling with energy. "They wanted to destroy us," she said quietly. "Instead, they'd made us stronger." In orbit above Earth, the Kryvak's fleet received the report from their failed attack. Their greatest weapon had become their greatest mistake, and the humans were still changing, still growing stronger with each passing day. Colonel Frank Howard looked out over the red Martian landscape from the colony's main defense tower. 50 Kryvax ships approached on the horizon, their purple hulls gleaming in the pale sunlight. His unit of 300 soldiers waited in their positions, each one chosen because they had survived at least one energy weapon attack. "They're coming in fast," his second-in-command reported through the radio. 10 minutes until they're in range. Frank checked the display showing Dr. Susan Baker's face. She watched from her lab on Earth, monitoring their vital signs. "Remembered," she said, "your bodies know what to do now. Don't fight the energy. Let it flow through you." The first purple beams shot across the Martian sky. Frank watched as they struck the colony's shields. "All units, hold position," he ordered. "Wait for my signal." The shields wouldn't last long against the Kryvax weapons. Everyone knew that. But they didn't need to last long. They just needed to buy enough time for their bodies to finish adapting. "Shields at 40%, the computer announced. 30%, 20%. Frank felt his skin begin to tingle. The same thing had happened during his first exposure to the alien weapons back on Earth. But this time it felt stronger, more controlled. "Shields failing," the computer warned. "Now," Frank shouted into his radio. "Everyone out of cover. Let them hit you directly." His soldiers moved as one, stepping out onto the defensive walls. The Kryvax ships fired a full barrage, probably thinking the humans had gone crazy. Purple energy washed over them like a wave. "This is amazing." Dr. Baker's voice came through their radios. "Your adaptation rates are off the charts. The energy isn't just passing through you anymore. You're storing it, all of you." Frank felt the power building in his body. Looking around, he saw his soldiers glowing with purple light. The Kryvax ships had stopped firing, probably confused by their target's survival. "Colonel," one of his soldiers called out, "I can feel it wanting to come out." "Then let it out," Frank ordered. "Everyone, release the energy, just like we practiced." 300 beams of purple energy shot into the Martian sky. The Kryvax ships tried to dodge, but they weren't fast enough. Their own energy, turned against them, cut through their shields like paper. 5 ships exploded immediately. "Keep going," Frank shouted, firing his own energy beam at the nearest ship. "They can't adapt like we can." Dr. Baker's excited voice came through the radio again. "The energy conversion rate is perfect. Your bodies are taking their weapon energy and making it even stronger." The remaining Kryvax ships tried to retreat, but Frank's unit had been preparing for this moment. They'd worked in teams, combining their energy beams to create more powerful shots. Ship after ship fell from the Martian sky. "This is Earth Command." A new voice joined their radio channel. "We're seeing similar results worldwide. The Kryvax fleet is pulling back on all fronts." When the last alien ship disappeared over the horizon, Frank finally let himself relax. His soldiers cheered around him, their bodies still glowing faintly with stored energy. "Dr. Baker," he called over the radio, "what's the final count?" 43 Kryvax ships destroyed," she replied, her voice full of pride. "And more importantly, 0 human casualties. The adaptation is complete. Their weapons can't hurt us anymore. They can only make us stronger." Frank looked at his hands, watching small sparks of purple energy dance between his fingers. In just a few weeks, humanity had gone from nearly helpless to mastering their enemy's greatest weapon. "Send word to all colonies," he ordered. "The Mars defense was successful. And tell them," he paused, choosing his words carefully, "tell them we're ready to take the fight to the Kryvax. It's time they learned what humanity can really do." Above them, the Martian sun set on a changed battlefield, where human bodies had turned alien science against its makers. The war wasn't over, but for the first time, Frank knew with certainty how it would end. High Commander Zexthor slammed his fist on the control panel of his flagship. The holographic displays showed more human victories across the solar system. His purple skin had turned almost black with rage, a sign of extreme emotion among the Kryvax. "Impossible," he roared at his science officers. "How are they becoming stronger? Our weapons should have destroyed them. The chief scientist bowed low, his tentacles trembling. The humans are unique, High Commander. Their bodies don't just resist our energy weapons now. They absorb them, grow stronger, and use the power against us. On the main screen, Lieutenant Catherine Morris and her unit demonstrated this fact. Her team of 50 humans stood on an asteroid belt outpost, facing down a Kryvax attack fleet. The aliens had modified their weapons to fire at double power, hoping to overwhelm the humans' adaptation. Catherine felt the increased energy hit her body. Instead of pain, she felt a rush of power greater than ever before. The purple glow around her grew brighter, spreading to cover her entire body. "They've made a mistake," she said to her team. "The stronger they make their weapons, the stronger we become." She raised her hands, channeling the absorbed energy. "Show them what humanity can do." Her unit fired as one. Beams of purple energy, now mixed with streaks of blue and white, shot from their bodies. The Kryvax ship's shields shattered instantly. 3 capital ships exploded in a chain reaction. Back on his flagship, Zexthor watched in horror as his attack fleet retreated. "Increase power to maximum," he ordered. "We must destroy them now, before they grow even stronger." The remaining Kryvax ships powered up their weapons to dangerous levels. Energy beams 5 times stronger than their original weapons struck the human position. Catherine laughed as the energy poured into her. Her body felt like it might burst with power. The glow around her unit had turned almost white with intensity. "Thanks for the power boost," she said, knowing the Kryvax could hear her transmission. "Now watch what we can do with it." Her unit combined their energy into a single beam. The white-hot blast cut through space, destroying not just ships but tearing apart asteroids in its path. The Kryvax fleet scattered, but not before losing half their remaining ships. On Earth, scientists monitored the battle with growing excitement. "The energy readings are off the charts," one researcher reported to Dr. Susan Baker. "Their bodies are not just adapting anymore. They're evolving." Susan studied the data from Catherine's unit. The Kryvax just made another mistake. By increasing their weapon power, they've pushed human adaptation to a new level. "Look at these readings. Their bodies are generating energy on their own now. They don't even need to be hit by weapons anymore." The news reached High Commander Zexthor as his fleet retreated. His science officer's report made his blood run cold. The humans have achieved complete immunity. More than that, they've developed the ability to generate energy naturally. We've given them the power to destroy us. Zexthor looked at the image of Catherine's unit, still glowing with power on their asteroid base. In just a few weeks, humanity had gone from helpless prey to an unstoppable force. His weapons, the pride of Kryvax military science, had become their greatest gift to their enemy. "Send word to the homeworld," he ordered, his voice heavy with defeat. "The humans are not what we thought. They are not prey. They are not even warriors. They are something else entirely, something that grows stronger from every attack." As his ship jumped to faster than light speed, Catherine and her unit watched them flee. The glow of power still surrounded them, but now they could control it, channel it, use it at will. Humanity had not just survived the Kryvax weapons, they had mastered them. "Earth Command," Catherine reported, "the enemy is retreating. And this time, I don't think they're coming back." Dr. Daniel Wright stood in the center of the Global Defense Institute's main testing chamber. Around him, screens showed detailed scans of human test subjects, all of them glowing with the same purple-white energy that had once been the Kryvax's greatest weapon. "Show me again," he said to Private Laura Bennett, who stood in the testing area. She had become their star subject after showing an unusual talent for controlling the absorbed energy. Laura nodded and held up her hand. A ball of pure energy formed above her palm, shifting colors from purple to white. Unlike the early days, when they could only release the energy as wild blasts, she now shaped it like clay. "The control is getting better," she said, making the energy ball dance between her fingers. "I can feel exactly how to move it, like it's part of my body now. Daniel checked the readings on his screens. What he saw made him call the entire research team to the observation room. "Look at this," he said, pointing to the data. "Her cells aren't just storing the energy anymore. They're producing it." His team gathered around the displays, watching as Laura demonstrated her control. She split the energy ball into smaller spheres, making them orbit around her like tiny planets around a sun. "It's like our bodies learned the recipe," one researcher said. "We absorbed their energy weapons so many times that now we can make our own." Daniel nodded, pulling up comparison scans. "Not just make it, improve it. The energy Laura's producing is more stable than the Kryvax weapons, more controlled, more efficient." On the testing floor, Laura brought all the energy spheres back together. With careful concentration, she changed the color of the energy from purple to blue, then green, then back to white. "Each color has different properties," she explained to the watching scientists. "Purple cuts through shields, blue can heal, green can power machines, and white—" She paused, forming a perfect sphere of white light. "White can do all of it at once." Daniel's computers recorded everything, building a new understanding of what human bodies have become. "We're not just adapting anymore," he told his team. "We're evolving into something new, something that can control energy itself." The door to the observation room opened, and General Richards walked in. He looked different now, more relaxed than in the early days of the invasion. Like every other human who had survived a Kryvax attack, his skin had a faint glow just below the surface. "How's the research going?" he asked, watching as Laura continued her demonstrations. Daniel showed him the latest data. "Better than we could have imagined, sir. Every day we discover new ways to use this energy. Laura just showed us how to change its properties by adjusting its frequency. Can we teach this to others? We already are. Look." Daniel switched the display to show training sessions around the world. Hundreds of humans learning to control their new powers. The knowledge spreads naturally. Once one person figures out a new technique, others learn it quickly. It's like our bodies are sharing information somehow. Laura finished her demonstration and joined them in the observation room. The air around her hummed with contained power. "The best part," she said, "is that we don't need any special equipment. No weapons, no power sources. Our bodies do it all naturally now." General Richards smiled. "The Kryvax wanted to destroy us with their energy weapons. Instead, they turned the human race into living energy wielders. And we're still evolving," Daniel added, showing a final set of readings. "Every day, our control gets better. Our power grows stronger." The Kryvax didn't just give us a new weapon. They opened the door to humanity's next step in evolution. Around the world, millions of humans practiced their new abilities. What had started as a desperate adaptation for survival had become humanity's greatest scientific revolution. The age of pure human biology was over. The age of energy mastery had begun. Chief Scientist Amy Patterson watched through the observation window as another group of children demonstrated their energy abilities. Unlike the adults who had needed exposure to Kryvax weapons to develop these powers, these children had been born with them. Their skin naturally glowed with a soft white light. "The changes are permanent," she told the visiting alien diplomats. "Every human child born in the last year has shown the same abilities. We've become something new." The aliens, representatives from 12 different species, watched in amazement as the children formed complex patterns with their energy. Some created floating symbols, while others used their power to lift and move objects. "The Kryvax have gone into hiding," one diplomat said, his translator converting his clicks and whistles into English. "They spread warnings about your species across 3 galaxies." Amy smiled. "They should have studied us more carefully before they attacked. Human bodies don't just fight off threats. They learn from them, adapt to them, and grow stronger." Commander John Rivera entered the observation room. As Earth's chosen representative to the Galactic Council, he had spent months preparing for this day. The soft glow of energy around him pulsed gently, a sign of his complete mastery over his abilities. "The children are ready for the final demonstration," he said to Amy. She nodded and pressed a button on her console. The observation room's windows transformed into a giant screen, showing views from space. A group of older students floated in space near the moon, no spacesuits needed. Their energy fields protected them from the vacuum, provided oxygen, and kept them warm. As the diplomats watched, the students joined their powers together to create a massive energy construct, a perfect replica of the solar system in glowing light. "Remarkable," another diplomat said. "You've mastered energy manipulation beyond even what the Kravax could do. And you achieved this in less than a year." "Human adaptation has no limits," Amy explained. "Once our bodies learned to control energy, we kept discovering new applications: space travel without ships, instant communication across any distance, clean, unlimited power for all our needs." John stepped forward. "That's why we've asked you here today. Earth is ready to join the Galactic Council, but we want to be clear about what that means. We come not as survivors or victims, but as equals. The Kravax attacked us thinking we were weak. They learned otherwise." On the screen, the student demonstration continued. The glowing solar system model expanded to show nearby star systems, then the entire galactic arm. The detail and control required for such a display would have been impossible just months ago. "We offer friendship and cooperation," John continued. "We can share our understanding of energy manipulation. Our scientists have already discovered applications that the Kravax never imagined. But," he paused, letting his own energy field brighten slightly, "we will also defend ourselves if threatened. The time when humanity could be conquered is over." The diplomats huddled together, discussing among themselves. Finally, their leader stepped forward. "The Galactic Council accepts Earth's petition for membership. Your species has proven itself not just capable of survival, but of evolution beyond anyone's expectations." Amy watched as the children ended their space demonstration, returning to the facility amid cheers and applause. In just 1 year, humanity had gone from a single-planet species fighting for survival to a rising power in the galaxy. The very weapons meant to destroy them had instead triggered the next step in human evolution. "Chief Scientist," one of the younger diplomats asked, "do you think humans will continue to evolve, to grow stronger?" Amy looked at the children, their bodies glowing with power that would have seemed like magic just a year ago. "This is just the beginning," she said. "Human bodies adapt. They evolve. They grow stronger. And now that we understand how—" She smiled as one child created a butterfly of pure energy that flew around the room. "Now there's no limit to what we might become."